The only 4 exercises you need to define your abs in just 28 days. Having defined abs is undoubtedly one of the biggest goals for most people who go to the gym. However, the truth is that many don't achieve results simply because they don't know the best exercises for each part of this muscle group. Most fall into the trap of doing just that classic abdominal crunch, and on top of that, executing it incorrectly, hurting their spine more than actually stimulating the abs. That's why so many people don't see progress after weeks of effort and even end up giving up on training this region. The problem is that the abdominals are not just one muscle, but a group of them, and each part needs specific stimulation to develop completely. So today you will see exactly how to define your abs in just 28 days using only 4 exercises that you can do at home without any equipment, using only the weight of your own body. Before we start with the exercises themselves, it's fundamental to understand that the abdominals are composed of different muscles. We have the rectus abdominis, which is divided into upper and lower regions, those famous six-pack muscles. We also have the obliques, which are on the sides of the belly and give that defined waist look. And finally, we have the transverse abdominis, which is the deepest muscle and works as a natural belt for our spine. The main mistake that most people make is focusing only on the traditional abdominal crunch, which predominantly stimulates the upper part. This would be like trying to develop a wide back by training only the lower back. It simply doesn't work. For truly defined and strong abs, we need to work all these regions in a balanced and consistent way. We also need to clarify another very important thing. Doing abdominal exercises does not burn localized fat in the belly. This is one of the biggest fitness myths and needs to be debunked once and for all. Fat is one thing, muscles are something completely different. I know it seems simple, but many don't know this. When you do abdominal exercises, you're working to grow and hypertrophy the muscles of the abdominal region, not to eliminate the fat that covers them. It's like building a brick wall behind a curtain. The curtain represents body fat, and the bricks are your abdominal muscles. You can build an amazing wall, but nobody will see it while the curtain is closed. For your abs to be visible, you need to combine 2 essential factors: consistent training to develop the abdominal muscles and a caloric deficit to reduce the layer of fat that covers them. Without this second factor, no matter how many abdominal exercises you do, they simply won't show. That's why many people get frustrated doing hundreds of AB exercises a day without seeing visible results. They are strengthening the muscles, yes, but the fat is still there, hiding all the progress. Muscles are built in the gym, but definition is conquered in the kitchen. Now that you've understood the basics, let's move on to the necessary exercises. Exercise 1. Leg raises. Let's start with a powerful exercise for the lower abs, which is generally the most difficult area to define. Leg raises. This movement is fantastic because it directly activates the lower part of the rectus abdominis, that region just above the pubic bone that many people have difficulty developing. Leg raises are especially effective because they keep the abdominal muscles under constant tension, stimulating not just muscle hypertrophy, but also improving motor control and core stability. After a few weeks of consistent practice, you'll notice not only better definition in the lower abs, but also improved posture and fewer incidents of lower back pain. To execute correctly, lie on your back on the floor with your legs extended and arms at your sides, palms facing down. This will be your starting position. Keep your lower back in contact with the floor throughout the exercise. Now, contract your abs and without momentum, raise your extended legs until they form an angle of approximately 90 degrees with the floor. At this point, your feet should be pointing toward the ceiling. Important, it's not necessary to lift your hips off the floor, as this reduces the tension in the abdominal muscles and transfers the work to other muscle groups. After a brief pause in the elevated position, where you should feel the maximum contraction of the lower abs, slowly begin to lower your legs back to the starting position, controlling the movement. The secret here is in the slow and controlled descent. It's in this phase that the lower abs work more intensely to resist gravity. A common mistake is letting the legs fall quickly, losing all muscle tension. Another frequent error is arching the back during the movement, which puts excessive pressure on the lumbar spine and can cause long-term injuries. To avoid this, keep your abs contracted throughout the exercise and, if necessary, place your hands under your lower back to ensure it remains in contact with the floor. If you're just starting now and find the exercise too challenging, an alternative is to slightly bend your knees during the movement. As you gain strength, gradually extend your legs until you can perform the complete exercise. I recommend doing 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions, with a 60-second rest between sets. As you progress, you can increase to 4 sets or add more repetitions. The important thing is to feel the lower abs working intensely and to get close to muscle failure on the last repetition of each set. A valuable tip: control your breathing. Exhale during the contraction phase, when raising your legs, and inhale during the return to the starting position. This breathing control maximizes muscle contraction and makes the exercise more efficient. Exercise 2. Bicycle crunches. The bicycle crunch is simply amazing for working the obliques, those muscles that give the lateral contour to the abs and create that defined waist we so desire. Additionally, this exercise also activates the rectus abdominis and improves coordination between the trunk and lower limbs. The bicycle crunch not only strengthens the lateral muscles of the abdomen, but also improves trunk rotation, which is fundamental for many daily and sports activities. With consistency, you'll see a visible definition of the obliques and a more sculpted waist in just a few weeks. To execute the bicycle crunch correctly, lie on your back on the floor with your hands behind your head, elbows open, and knees bent. Lift your feet off the floor so that your thighs form a 90-degree angle with your trunk. This is your starting position. Now contract your abs and simultaneously raise your right shoulder toward your left knee, extending your right leg. It's important that the movement comes from the abs and not from the neck. Many people make the mistake of pulling their head with their hands, which can cause unnecessary cervical tension. Your hands are behind your head only for support, not to pull it. Next, return to the center position and repeat the movement with the opposite side, raising your left shoulder toward your right knee while extending your left leg. Continue alternating sides in a fluid and controlled movement, as if you were pedaling a bicycle horizontally. One of the main errors in this exercise is performing the movements too quickly. Although it may seem more intense, fast movements decrease muscle activation and increase the risk of injuries. Focus on performing each repetition with control and precision, feeling the abs contracting with each movement. Another common mistake is letting the lower back lose contact with the floor. To avoid this, keep your abs contracted throughout the exercise and adjust the range of motion if necessary. For beginners, a useful tip is to start with a slower rhythm and smaller amplitude, gradually increasing as strength and control improve. Keep your breathing fluid and constant throughout the exercise. Don't hold your breath. I recommend doing 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions for each side, with a 45 to 60-second rest between sets. At the end of the last set, you should feel an intense burning in the obliques and in the abs as a whole. An advanced variation of this exercise is to increase the time under tension, making a brief pause of 1 to 2 seconds at the point of maximum contraction when the opposite elbow and knee meet. This intensifies the work of the obliques and accelerates results. Before we continue to the third exercise, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to correct and science-based information is what will make you progress in the long term in the world of bodybuilding. Exercise 3. Traditional abdominal crunch. The third exercise in our program is the traditional abdominal crunch, which, when executed correctly, is extremely effective for developing the upper part of the rectus abdominis, that region that forms the first bumps of the famous six-pack. When executed correctly and consistently, it not only strengthens and defines the upper abdomen, but also improves posture and core stability. The problem is that although it's one of the most well-known abdominal exercises, most people execute it incorrectly, diminishing its benefits and increasing the risk of injuries. To perform the abdominal crunch correctly, lie on your back on the floor with your knees bent and feet supported on the floor, separated at hip width. Place your hands crossed over your chest or lightly beside your head. This is your starting position. Now, consciously contract your abs as if you were trying to bring your ribs closer to your pubic bone. Raise the upper part of your back a few centimeters off the floor, keeping the lower back pressed against the ground. The movement should be short and controlled. You don't need to sit up completely, as this would reduce the tension in the abs and transfer the effort to the hip flexors. The secret to an efficient crunch is focusing on the contraction of the abs, not on the movement itself. At the highest point of contraction, pause for 1 to 2 seconds, squeezing your abs as much as possible. Then, slowly return to the starting position, but without completely relaxing the abdominal muscles. Maintain a slight tension even in the rest position. One of the most common mistakes I see is people pulling their neck with their hands or propelling their body with their arms. This not only reduces abdominal work, but can also cause tension and pain in the cervical region. Your hands should be there only for support, not to force the movement. Another frequent error is using excessive momentum or speed. The abdominal crunch should be performed with total control, emphasizing the quality of contraction over the quantity of repetitions. A slow and controlled movement activates more muscle fibers and generates superior results. I recommend doing 3 sets of 15 to 25 repetitions, with a 45-second rest between sets. As the exercise becomes easier, you can increase the challenge by adding resistance, such as holding a small weight against your chest or increasing the number of repetitions. An important tip to maximize the effectiveness of this exercise is to coordinate breathing with movement. Exhale during contraction and inhale during the return to the starting position. This breathing technique intensifies abdominal contraction and improves results. Exercise 4. Classic Plank. The fourth and final exercise in our program is the classic plank, an exceptional isometric movement for working the deep abdomen, especially the transverse abdominis, that muscle that acts as a natural corset, stabilizing the spine and giving that flat belly appearance that we all desire. The classic plank is exceptionally valuable because, besides strengthening the deep abdomen, it also works the shoulders, arms, legs, and glutes, making it almost a full-body exercise. It significantly improves core stability, posture, and the ability to transfer force between the upper and lower body in everyday movements. Well, if you watch the channel regularly, you know that the benefits of the plank are many, so this exercise should definitely be part of your workout. And here's the way for you to never make mistakes when executing it. Start in the four-support position. Then, rest your forearms on the floor, with your elbows directly below your shoulders. Support yourself on your toes so that your body forms a straight line from your heels to your head. This is the plank position. The key to an effective plank is in the conscious activation of the core. Contract your abs as if you were preparing to receive a punch. Pull your navel toward your spine and squeeze your glutes. Maintain this contraction throughout the exercise while breathing normally. An extremely common mistake in the plank is letting the hips drop or rise, breaking body alignment. Hips that are too low put excessive pressure on the lower back, while hips that are too high drastically reduce abdominal activation. To verify if your position is correct, ask someone to observe your profile or place yourself laterally in front of a mirror. Your body should form a straight line without excessive curvatures. Another frequent mistake is the position of the hands. The forearms should be parallel to each other, with the hands lightly closed. Some practitioners join their hands in a prayer format, which can cause tension in the shoulders and divert attention from the abdominal work. For beginners, maintaining the plank position can be challenging. If that's the case, start with short periods, like 20 seconds, and gradually increase the duration as you develop strength and endurance. Don't worry about starting with less time. It's better to maintain perfect form for 20 seconds than an incorrect position for 1 minute. I recommend doing 3 sets of planks, starting with 20 seconds for beginners or 45 to 60 seconds for more advanced practitioners, with a 60 to 90 second rest between sets. Each week, try to increase the duration by 5 to 10 seconds. Try to focus on the quality of contraction, not just on enduring in the position. During the plank, try to actively contract your abs even more with each exhalation, as if you were trying to pull your navel toward your spine. This conscious activation maximizes the work of the transverse abdominis. To progressively increase the challenge, you can add small variations, such as alternating shoulder taps, touching the opposite shoulder with your hand while maintaining the position, or small alternating leg raises, always keeping the hips stabilized. Now, one last, very important warning. If you feel a lot of pain when performing these exercises, we recommend that you do 5 isometric positions that can heal your entire body. The video showing the benefits and how to execute each of them is appearing on the screen right now. Thank you for watching this far, and may God bless you, my friend.